One of the most important things in your shop is your safety equipment. And when you're using either a router table or a table saw, you need to have some sort of a push block to guide your material safely through the saw and away from your hand. And today I'd like to show you how to make a simple and inexpensive push block with some items that you probably have already around your house. The first thing, of course, is we need a couple of pieces of 2x4 and a piece of dowel rod if you have it. If not, that's fairly inexpensive. Some glue and a 1/4-inch drill bit, of course a pencil, and your weld bond glue, or a tight bond glue would do just fine. And also you need some of this green material. This is a shelf liner paper that you can get at a Dollar Tree store or dollar store, and it's just the same thing as the router paper that you can buy. It's basically a surface that will allow it to nothing hardly ever moves too well on this surface, so it's a good sticky surface. And I like to use a rotary cutter, but you can use an X-Acto knife. And of course, the most important thing is your safety glasses. So let's get started. Next, we need to make the handle, and this is perhaps the most difficult part of the whole project. Not that it's very difficult. I don't have enough wood to make an actual nice, like a handle with a finger grip. So what I'm going to do is I just try to do a gentle curve and just make a kind of a push handle that once you put your hand on, you'll be able to push it through like so. So I'm not very good on the bandsaw with cutting curves, so I think I'm going to do this on the scroll saw. There we go. This form gives us a nice grip to take our fingers in our cup of our hand and take it and push the block this way, and it still gives us room to keep from out of the saw blade, and actually we can rest our wrist upon it too. So I need to sand this up a little bit. I made a little bit of an error at first, and then we'll get back to it. Really, another thing that needs to be done is you need to take a roundover bit and a router and round off your sharp edges. And I don't have my router out at the moment, but what you can do if you don't have a router, but you have a belt sander or a just a hand blocks plane sander, you can go over your edges and kind of round them out so it fits a little bit more contoured to the hand. What I am going to do is I've got my small Dremel shaper bit here, and I'm going to put a shape down along the side of the handles. Actually, I don't even have a roundover bit, never had for the Dremel, but I've already got this chucked up from another project, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. If you have a router or a Dremel table, most routers come with larger routers. This is only 1/8 of an inch. Come with a what's called a bushing, and that's what you line up the or you ride along the edge of your board. This has what's called a pilot bit, and with the fence, you should always, if you're trying to get the full depth of cut, take a square and line up the fence and make sure that it pretty much touches the bit. I've got this just slightly so many thousandths of an inch off, but it works pretty good. And another thing too is when you're routing, you don't want to take the whole pass at one time. You want to do 2 passes so you will not damage or put excessive wear on the bit. So I'm not going to go completely the full measure. So you're just going to take just kind of just lightly, and then we can go back Maybe even do it one more time. And there we got a nice edge on that. Now we'll do the cross grain and we'll get back to our project. I've done something that I shouldn't have done. I didn't drill my holes before I cut my shape of my handle block, so I had to get it in my vise and get my level out to make sure that it was going to be level, and it's pretty much there. And so I just need to go ahead and drill my hole. I've also got a piece of electrician's tape to kind of mark the depth of my first hole so we get an accurate hole at the same time. Instead of using screws, I've chose to dowel pin this project together, and I've already taken my dowel pin and fit it in, and then cut my two pins appropriately to the same distance. And what you'll find is I'm not even going to glue this, because if you use the right bit for the right dowel pin, these things are fit so snug I can tap this in place and they probably will never come out. I may put just a drop of glue in. So now I need to transfer some measurements to my block and drill it. Alright, here we are at the drill press, and one of the handiest devices that you can have in your shop is actually a sliding ruler with a little T-square on it. I got this at Harbor Freight for $2, and I'm able to measure the depth of my dowel pins. And so what I'm going to do before I start drilling is I took the old tape off, which, by the way, never use electrical tape on a drill bit. It's just too hard to get off. So I'm going to take and I'm going to measure my depth of cut, and I'll get back and cut the holes. And I also took my same measure, and I drew a line around my block and then drew a center line again by using the T-square. And so let's get to drilling the holes. Okay, moment of truth. Did it fit or not? It actually did. Just a little bit off, but my dowel pins fit perfectly, pretty much in there. Now I just need to tamp it down with a rubber mallet. Again, I don't need to glue this because the dowel pins and the joints are just snug, and they will not come out unless you just really pry it. I'm going to do a little bit more cleanup on the block, and I'll get right back to you. Alright, just a final little tap here. Tap on the back side, and those pins are snug. You are not going to pull this out too easily. So next we're going to put on our green cloth. Okay, for this part we're going to use our rotary cutter. If you don't know where you can get one of these, you can get these at a quilt shop, and they are very sharp, so be mindful of them. And I'm not sure if I can do this two-handed, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm just going to take the rotary edge of the cutter and it moved on me a little bit. Okay, and let's see here. Take it down this edge here. Well, not bad. Need to trim that out just a little bit. See where we separate here. Okay, right along, I believe it's right along that line there. There we go. So now what we'll do is we'll take some glue and we'll put that on and let that dry overnight, and we'll come back. Okay, got our glue on, and remember, when you're doing this, just put a nice swirled amount on there, and then take your finger and just make it like you're doing brownies or something. You know, make sure you're edge to edge on your batter, and just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then just kind of neatly lay this on here. The one thing I like about weld bond is, though it looks white right now, it's going to dry clear and it won't show. Well, it's morning again, And here is our finished project, although it looks a little bit different than when you saw it last night. The difference being is that I couldn't get over. Remember, if you remember, I had this dig right here in the side. Couldn't get quite past that, so I took and made a nice gentle little S curve here, and with my scroll saw cut that out, and then took my Dremel and went back around the edges. And also on the other side, if you recall, right about here, I had another big dig just from the chip out of the wood, and I ran this back through my table saw and sliced off about 1/8 of an inch, and then went back and re-edged it with my Dremel tool. Of course, doing that made it off center, so I had to recenter my handle. But all in all, this works better because now it's really contoured to the hand. On the underside, I am remiss to say that my glue didn't hold as well as I thought it would. Actually, it wasn't the glue's fault, it just didn't have a lot to hold on to with this checkerboard stuff. So what I ended up doing is taking my Power Shot stapler and brad nailer, and I went across the sides and down the top, or down the sides and across the top, and put some staples in it, and now it holds pretty good. So we're ready to use this now. This is a valuable tool in your workshop, good safety tool, and I hope that you consider making one. It's very inexpensive to make. It really didn't cost me anything except for maybe $1 for the green stuff. So hope you've enjoyed. Remember always to keep Jesus Christ in your heart and in your shop. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.